Welcome to Toffee TV. I am joined by Dave Kelly from Everton Football Club Shareholders Association. Dave, nice to have you here.
Pleasure to be
Been
here.
a while.
May well congratulate you on the quality of your hospitality.
Oh, thank
as
you.
well,
Oh, someone made you a cup of tea?
It's a wonderful cup of tea, and fair play to them.
There you go. Be one of my interns, that.
Well, I actually accuse it of being baby Ped who made the cup of tea.
Oh, don't start those rumours, for God's sake. Dave, you're here to talk about the vote of no confidence in Everton's board. Tell us a little bit about this, what's going on at the moment.
Yeah, I think to a lot of people, the Shareholders Association is probably so far removed from most of the things that go on in and around Everton Football Club. Largely anonymous, and people think we do very little or nothing. I'm quite proud of the fact I've been on the executive committee of the Shareholders Association for over 15 years. Quite proud of the fact that previously, in our hour of need, the shareholders have stood up to the plate and done things like challenge the board over the Destination Kirby debacle, the reintroduction of general meetings. We're probably in the fortunate position that we allegedly have quarterly meetings with the club, which gives us an opportunity to be a voice. And I'm always keen to articulate to anybody I say. It may well be the case that it's actually the Shareholders Association. However, we're proud that we actually articulate and echo the feelings of the wider fan base. And I think the vote of no confidence petition was one that was carried out and agreed upon with an extremely heavy heart. And it's probably, the narrative probably goes back to July last year when the executive committee and Farhad Mashiri and Bill Kenwright held a Zoom call. And I know at the time when it went in the public domain, people were asking for things like minutes. Well, I can assure anyone, me and you sitting here now, I won't be taking any minutes because we're sitting here having an informal chat. And in fairness, the meeting was an informal chat. There was no structure, there was no agenda. We discussed many things. Probably most of the things that got posed, most of the questions that got posed to the Fan Advisory Board at the public meeting and the Zoom calls were asked in July during the Zoom meeting. And I think the overall consensus when the meeting was finished is that overall, I was going to say the majority, I think every single member of the exec who was at the Zoom call was quite impressed with what was said and was quite optimistic. Now, the bottom line of that was, and the meeting closed on, I'm over in Liverpool next week for the Dynamo Kiev game, and I see no reason why we shouldn't have a face-to-face meeting. So let's get something set up, let's meet and let's have a discussion so we can see the whites of each other's eyes. And so I think it was quite a long week from the Sunday to the Dynamo Kiev game. And then 24 hours before kick-off, the bombshell that his travel plans had changed and the meeting wouldn't be going ahead. However, they'd look at other dates depending on his availability. Well, I know as a billionaire businessman who jets all around the world, he must have an extremely busy diary, and it must be really difficult for him to find a window of opportunity within his diary. So as a consequence of that, and because of the lack of activity, we've done numerous things, just normal things that normal associations with or groups would do. Unlike, and this isn't a criticism, lots of fan groups and representatives of fans have felt so angry and frustrated that they penned open letters. Well, Everton Shareholders Association is the oldest shareholders association in world football. Don't really want to hang its dirty washing out in public. We'd much rather correspond with them privately and try and move it forward. So there's been various letters, emails, snail mail, recorded delivery to both to Bill Kenwright and to Farhad Moshiri. And to say the response has been disappointing would be an understatement. However, as a caveat to that, I'm probably one of the few people who've managed to speak to Bill Kenwright over the last couple of weeks. And again, I won't go into too much detail about what was discussed during the call, because he probably told me a lot of things that he shouldn't have told me, but it was in relation to his own health. So I said to him, I said, look, I've got total empathy, understand everything you're saying. I wish you a full and speedy recovery. One of the things he said, which actually set alarm bells ringing even louder, was when he said, I haven't actually seen any of your letters or emails. He said, because I've got problems with my vision. So he said, I've virtually lost my sight. He said, so I've had a minor procedure and hopefully that should improve my sight and get it back to what it was. So basically the conversation ended there and then, other than he said, so although I haven't seen your letter, my PA has read the letter out to me. Don't particularly disagree with any of the contents. He said, all as I would ask is that the association gives me 10 days and hopefully I'll be in a position whereby I can respond. So you've then got the dilemma that them 10 days takes you into the Christmas and New Year. So you've got the dilemma as well, is it 10 days or is it 10 working days? So it becomes 15 days, err on the side of caution. So I sent him another email and I sent him a text message asking was he okay to have a chat, because obviously you've gone through the Christmas and New Year, I don't know what the state of his health is. Got no response. And for me sins, I was standing, of all places, outside Anfield the night they played Wolves doing a food bank collection, 7:15 on a Saturday night, when the phone rang and it was Bill.
Typical.
And I said to him quite early on in the conversation, it's not really appropriate for me to be speaking to you. I'm actually standing outside Anfield at a food bank collection. Can I ring you back in an hour? And in fairness to Bill, he did what most people do to me. He just totally ignored me and carried on talking. So one of the things he then said was that he would send me an email address to contact Farhad Moshiri direct. And he would get Denise to ring me. Now, in fairness, I received an email off the club on the Monday morning with Farhad Moshiri's contact details on, and emailed him straight away, and I still await a response. And with regards to Denise contacting us, he hasn't.
Yeah.
She hasn't. So it leaves you in the unenviable position, and the consensus within the association is it may well be that they're now ignoring us. How do we react? How do we respond? And I think most Evertonians will probably be well aware, historically, if that's a word I can use, historically, the Shareholders Association and shareholders per se have always had the opportunity to challenge the board and to challenge the directors and to sign off the accounts at the annual general meetings. Unfortunately, Farhad Moshiri's now decided that we're no longer going to have general meetings. In fact, he actually said at the Zoom call in July that he had no objections to general meetings going ahead. So hopefully he keeps to that promise. Yeah. So we're in a situation whereby we're being largely ignored, and what do we do about it? So initially it's pointless going out and getting 6% of the shareholders to sign a petition calling for an EGM for the terms of reference of the company to be changed and to reintroduce AGMs, given that Farhad Masheri already owned 94%, so it's something that you couldn't do with a degree of validity. So we decided that the best thing that we could do is that we would set up an online petition, but not just for shareholders to sign, but for the wider fan base. Now, in my communication with Farhad Masheri, I actually said that, in my opinion, now it's now no longer an option to do nothing. We need to do something, and I would urge you in the first instance to reinstate the general meetings for the shareholders. However, I would also urge you to start meeting with the wider fan base and give us an explanation as to where we're at and what we're up to. Unfortunately, there's been no response to that, so the Shareholders Association reluctantly launched a petition.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, communication is not the strongest thing, is it? And never has been at the football club. And you know, are these people who before this would generally, you mentioned the Zoom call, but is this something that's got worse under Farhad Masheri, or is this, you know, as long as you've been doing it, is communication always been poor?
Well, to be honest with you, Pez, there's things like Shareholders Association is supposed to have quarterly meetings with Denise and the senior management team. We haven't had one since September, so someone's working on extremely funny quarters. So hopefully a quarterly meeting will come round sometime soon. Previously, they'll cancel meetings at extremely short notice, and ironically enough, they often cancel a January meeting because we're in the transfer window and we're all busy. So they put, my personal view is they put very little priority on having these quarterly meetings. So we're probably in much the same position as the wider fan base, that we're being largely ignored.
What will happen with this petition then? What will, if you know, I mean, obviously, when petitions get signed, say it's for the government, it obviously has to get, I think, to 100,000, isn't it, before it can be... Is there anything that can actually come from this in terms of the numbers? And...
I think there's a lot can come from it. I think legally, and I think people need to grasp this, legally it won't reinstate general meetings. Yeah. We can't force them into having dialogue with us if they don't want to have dialogue to us. Our view as an association was that we put a vote of no confidence out for one reason and one reason only, to show the depth of anger and frustration that's out there. It's not just the Shareholders Association, that it's actually the wider fan base. And I think it's the petition's currently standing just short of 15,000. And it was interesting at the executive committee last night that some people are disappointed with the amount of people who voted. Others were quite excited. But if you actually go away and do a little bit of research, one of the things that concerns me, I'm made up for the 15,000 people, or nearly 15,000 people who have signed that petition. However, if you go back, I'll use that word again, historically, we got 23,000 fans signed a petition because they didn't like the badge. Yeah. So I would like to, I don't know how long that petition actually ran for, but hopefully the petition will grow in numbers over the coming weeks. And all as it does, it gives the Shareholders Association to say with a degree of authority, well, this is the feelings. I think if we rewind the clock back a number of years ago, to people marching up and down Goodison Road in clown suits and birthday cakes, when it was marketed by one of the executive directors at the moment. It was only one man and his dog.
Yeah.
And that's why I would urge any Evertonian out there who's got any concerns with the direction of travel of the club, either on the pitch or off the pitch, because the criticism can clearly be levelled at both on-field and off-field activities. I would urge them to sign it. That, if nothing else, gives us the next time we do have a meeting with the club to ask them what their thoughts are, what their comments and observations are. That X amount of Evertonians have got very little or no confidence in the board.
Yeah, because that's half the problem, isn't it? You mentioned the marches. We were both on them, and you led them.
No one that wasn't me. There's someone who looked like me.
We both had one of those scarves, I know that.
I'm going to bring it actually today.
I think mine's over there. People, we've seen it then, people, Everton fans don't like getting involved. I don't know what it is. There's
Cop-out behaviour.
Maybe that's what it is, Dave. You're spot on. There's a trait amongst our fan base, and whether it's right or wrong, there is a trait where people. And I saw this the last game. There's the idea of. I remember going past the Royal Oak and people clapping and going. People saying, "Well, why aren't you come and do it then?" And they were like, right. No. But they were clapping. Yeah. And you seen it walking down Goodison Road.
I remember the chant, man, up, let go if you love your bud.
Yeah. So there is this thing, isn't there, amongst our fan base of like, we appreciate what you're doing, but we're not prepared to do it. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, and I don't have any problem saying this, should have been 37,000 people at the last game for at least 15 minutes afterwards. There's no reason to go home. Everyone should be dissatisfied. I can't tell people how to feel, and you're the same. But
it's very tempting to leave on the final whistle to avoid the rush, isn't it? Because everyone's staying behind to protest.
I know it was a cold one, but this surely, if you're not that way inclined, if you're not prepared to stand there, I understand. I remember even when the walkout happened, you're getting glared at for walking out. You know, you're one of them, are you? I appreciate that, but going online and sign a petition doesn't take 2 minutes to do. And it does show. You've just said it yourself with things like the badge. You know, I bet I've seen. I don't know, you'll have seen this well. There's been like a grassroots one, hasn't there, knocking around for age, a petition, and it can barely get over, say, 25,000. It's about kids playing footy. And it's like, but if that was about like, we want a petition over something, something dead stupid. If someone was saying, can we have Guinness on draft or something, that at Goodison, that petition.
Perhaps we should have put that as a caveat.
Also, the way when they put motions in the government and they sneak little things in with it.
Until the board introduce Guinness on draft in the stadium, we're moving votes of no confidence in there.
But there is that, isn't it? It's like if people are out there and maybe they don't want to do things that are seen as.
But I think one of the things that's clearly come to the fore over the last couple of weeks since all this has gone on is how out of touch with reality they are. I know comments attributed to Graham Sharp over the last couple of days about how hard working Denise is. Well, I don't doubt how hard working Denise is. Most of the people I know are genuine, honest, hard working people who put a good shift in. No one's saying they're lazy. But clearly, something is wrong within that football club. Our intelligence gets insulted with comments like, well, we'll have to ask Everton what they do because we're held up as the bastion of clubs who always does the right thing. Well, we're not. Now, it might be quite cosy and cuddly for us to think that, but the vast majority of us now have been spun to death and see through it all as propaganda. Yeah,
but that's it, isn't it? Because there's a body of evidence there. 10 years ago there was a body of evidence. It's just that people didn't want to really look at it because Moyes had the club in a decent place. But now there's so much evidence, and it's whereas maybe 10 years ago it wasn't on the pitch and people went, well, we're doing all right, so there's no reason to kick off. Now we're just a mess. The club is a mess. Even yesterday, the announcement for the sacking was 5 hours after everybody else. You're listening to the transfer stuff. There's, as we're recording, there's transfer rumours going around. The whole club there's a vacuum.
There was a fella on the fan advisory Zoom last week from the States. He was as scouse as you could be, you know what I mean? But he's over in the States and has been for a number of years. And what he said totally nailed it for me. He said Everton Football Club is an analogue football club in a digital age. And he was absolutely spot on what he said. And if he had any sense, he'd go and copyright that.
I think he robbed that off me, actually.
Copyright in the corner. But that is absolutely spot on. It emphasises everything that we are. I think the more you think about it, I've always, funny enough, I was speaking to Joe Jennings of all people over the weekend, and one of the things he said, I always love it when you say Everton don't do going down. Well, if they don't get their act together within the next couple of games, we're staring down the barrel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, the reality of all that is, and let's just think about this, the final season at Goodison Park in the Championship. Being an Evertonian, I'd spin that as a positive. Well, the first season of Premier League, we'd be back in the Premier League. Yeah. But that's the reality. Yeah. If you actually look at the challenges that lay ahead, the club is in a financial mess with Premier League money. Parachute payments won't be bailing us out. So we need to act, and we need to act now. For fans who go to away games, we've been spoiled rotten over the last 6 to 7 years with the £30.
You've had good times.
No, with the £30 price cap. The first thing that would do if Everton Football Club was in the Championship, every single club in the Championship would look, I'll tell you what, we can give them 9,000 tickets at £50 a piece. We're going to get fleeced by everyone. We'll end up playing games on mad days at mad times. And we'll be literally on the telly every week. We will no longer have to tune in to watch us last on Match of the Day because we've become even more insignificant. And that's why we've got to act, and we've got to act
we'll
now.
disappear. I mean, there's a lot of, like, at the moment, we're news because we're such a mess. And, you know, I see it because it feels like you're banging your head on against the wall when you're trying to get across. But if we do go down, the minute we go down, no one will care. It's not like the story will continue and people will follow the story. Look at Sunderland. All right, you might get a good documentary out of it, makes you look stupid. But the minute if Everton went down, no one would care. Because we're the old story, and Sky Sports News, all these people who at the moment are...
But I think that goes back, Peds, to 10 years ago when the Blue Union was doing stuff and having a go. Because that was the time where they started dumbing down expectations. You know, who will ever forget the famous Magnificent Seventh DVD? They dumbed us down and they got us to accept second best. They completely forgot all about nil status nisi optimum. For my sins, I walked into the club shop yesterday and I was astonished at the amounts of branded gear in the club shop. I don't know the last time you was in there. The Brandon big style now, NSNO. But they've missed the W off the end.
No, the stuff's crap. It's just... I always look. I go on all the time just to see what stuff they've brought, and it's
see what I'm not going to buy.
It's all generic. It's all stuff that every other club is going to get, and obviously the other thing they're doing is very very slowly changing our badge to the other one as well, which we're laughing as well, which has no identity to it, even though it's, you know.
Well, to be honest with you, and I've said this to people at the club, I've got no problem with that badge.
No, I don't.
I've got no problem whatsoever, and I actually say to people, if you look at Man United, you look at Liverpool, they don't have their club logo on the badge on the kit, and there's other teams exactly the same. So I get having a different badge on the third kit. And what is that about? Maximising commercial activity. I get all that. I actually said to one of the comms departments who were bumped into in the shop, how come you can't get them that third kit in a kid's size, double XL? Because I'd buy one because it hasn't got steak.
That's what West Ham do.
Why wouldn't Everton Football Club actually seize the opportunity? There's lots of fans who've got issues with the shirt sponsor. I won't buy any merchandise because it's got the shirt sponsors. So there should actually be merchandise available where you don't have to wear a sponsor.
And West Ham do that, so it's not even like it doesn't happen. But there's a lot. You could say that for a lot of stuff, Dave. What I was going to say about the badge was, you were saying before, 23,000 at the petition. There was a lot of noise made about it. Alan, I remember Alan Myers actually gave me I've still got it. Give me the copy of the votes. I've still got it in ours. They made a big song and dance about it, how the club was changing, and they are very slowly bringing this new badge in, which I have no problem in, like you. I think it's actually a good sort of brand identity. But instead of doing what they did last time, we just dropped the Fisher Price one on us. They're going about it.
I think Everton Heritage Society posted that brilliant picture of Bawley standing leaning against the post on Goodison Road. And LeBone said it, didn't he? We don't need the badge. People know who we are. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, because they've dumbed us down that much, we now do need a badge. And they've got to put Everton on the badge, which they never did,
for people to
explain
know who we
where we're coming from. We haven't gone to the West Ham depths of putting the city we're from on it, thank God. But that is the issue. There's lots of real live issues that are largely ignored. Because they think they know better.
And they've been ignoring them for years. And when people bring it up, they just ignore it. And the more you bring it up, the more they ignore it. It's and one of the big reasons for that is because it's the same people who've been doing it for years and years and years. And like you just said, same people, they think they know what they're doing. They don't bring any kind of fresh ideas into the club. So the mentality just continues, and it gets passed on to the next person. We've seen these problems for years, doing this, doing other things.
So I think if you looked at the club not being in turmoil and looked at other things that concern supporters, we're potentially going to a new stadium in 18 months. They still haven't had a discussion with you or I about where you would like to sit, how they're going to... I don't know, we move to a new stadium, do I then go and sit with my daughter and my grandkids and we all sit together? There's a big job of work that's got to be done there. But all they're interested in is getting shut of the hospitality tickets at the moment.
There's loads, isn't there?
And that's the sort of things that they should be concentrating on and focusing on now. But they don't, and it's the things like that. The clubs are meltdowns, so they're getting away with stuff like that at the moment. But they need to start engaging with the wider fan base.
There's loads of stuff like that, Dave. I mean, I sit in the Gladys Street, so I imagine they'll swap my seat for a relative seat. But Baz sits in the upper Bullens. So his relative seat will be one of the best seats in the ground. Therefore, how much more does he have to pay? And if he's not prepared to pay that, what are they going to do? And there's all that stuff to work out. And we're not being brought into the conversation. And surely, all it's about is us. Like, if you boil it, I know I hate to use this word, we're the customers. If you want to boil it down to that, we're the customers and we're not being interacted. And
I know there's a number of shareholders in the Shareholders Association in the Bullens who've got seats on the halfway line in the first or second row. And they've obviously got grave concerns about where they're going. I've sat there 30 years.
That's the best seat in the house.
Well, the reality of it is, even if they just said the first 5 rows in Bramley Moor will all be hospitality. However, you'll get a non-hospitality seat, which is the near equivalent in the new stadium. And that would reassure lots of fans.
It would, but how much would that ticket be, though? That's the question, isn't it? And that's another thing. That ticket could end up being £1,000 more than what someone pays now. But then again, who knows? Who knows where we'll be?
Well, I was at the West Ham Food Bank on Saturday, and I spoke to the co-founder of that, John Tomsky, and his season ticket is on the halfway line. And you've got this fallacy where they've sold 60,000 season tickets because they're giving tickets away. He's paying £1,200 just for a seat on the halfway line. Now, I think if you're halfway up, you're about £4, £5 in a taxi away from seeing any action on the pitch, aren't you? You're miles away. And that's the reality. And when we do get down to Bramley Moor, Doc, it may well be that Fahad and Sherry's stumped all the cash up. But it's also be giving us his return on the investment. So why not engage with us?
Yeah, it's very, very strange. Just, I mean, I'll be honest, Dave, I think we could probably talk all day about the problems because there's that many. There's that many, and as you said, at the moment, the conversation is about, well, it should be about the board, but now it's going to be about the manager and it's going to be about players for the next 9 days. And they'll get away with that and then they're going to get all the people coming out going, concentrate on the team and all that.
Well, I can remember sitting down in the summer at the quarterly meeting, and got to say, fair play to whoever did, and I believe it'd be Richard Kenyon who would be ultimately responsible for it. He had the unenviable position of trying to negotiate a shirt sponsor and a sleeve sponsor for a club that they didn't know what division it was going to be in. So talk about going in and trying to negotiate blindly. So as bad as getting a crypto casino on the front of our shirts, we probably done remarkably well.
That may not be legal in this country.
We probably done remarkably well to pull off the deals we've done. But we're going to have exactly the same problem again next season. Because hopefully we have the luxury that we had last season, where we're not having to go into the last game of the season to win to stay up. So hopefully there is a turn in form, and that's one of the things. In spite of moving that vote of no confidence, I passionately believe the only thing that's going to keep us up is a united fan base. So I would urge anyone, get that petition signed. Get on the march on Saturday before the Arsenal game, but let's get somebody behind the team. It's the only way we're going to do it. We're going to have to all be in this together. And that's why they all together now work so much. Fancies to beat Arsenal and fancies to go over to Anfield and beat them as well.
Happy days. Just before I let you go, what is the percentage of the shareholders in terms of how many shares they own and how many shareholders are they?
Masheri owns 94%, Bill Kenwright owns 1.4%, and the rest are held by idiots like me and ones and twos. So there's outside our Bill, all the rest are a handful, may well be half a dozen, 10, all from one family with family members. So you'd never be in a position where you could legally go through and call. As I said, that wasn't the intention of the petition. No. The intention of the permission was to show the strength and depth of feeling. And I got asked by a journalist, and it's funny how people's minds work. A journalist asked me the other day, does fan unrest have an impact on the food bank collections? You better believe it. Of course it does. Of course it does. Particularly when people are saying enough hours beforehand to welcome a coach and to vent the spleen, and quite right to do so as well. And it's had a massive detrimental effect on the food bank collections. And I'd say anyone going to the Arsenal game, if you're marching up Speller Lane to Goodison Road, just call them by the van and throw a tin in.
There you go. Dave is at every home game by the fan zone, the van there. Take some food and take other things as well.
But again, Ped, just on that, and you probably won't be aware of this, fans supporting food banks run 6 mobile pantries spread out right across the whole of the city. The newest one is with Everton in the community in the Blue Base. It's only been running since the summer, so it's not. I think it's 6 months next week. It's the 4th biggest pantry in the UK. It's the biggest pantry outside London. A couple of the ones in London that are bigger than it run 5 days a week. That's one session. We've had to double the sessions because there's that many people turning up there. And that is one good thing that Evertonians and Everton Football Club do really well. Now, I'd have thought in these turbulent times, the club should actually be shouting from the rooftops about things like that, about what it's doing in the community. And they'll get criticised now, whether it's another boss throwing footage of the new stadium, or Mbappe gets wheeled into the room, we've just signed him, you still won't win a lot of them, they say is over. But the reality of it is, we need to all stick together. And as I said, I'm finishing, please donate to the food bank here at the Arsenal game. But get that petition signed if you've got any concerns.
There you go. Big thanks to Dave for joining us. The food bank is by the fan zone, so his van's there, and the petition will be in the comments, in the description, sorry, as well. And we've retweeted it a few times. We'll retweet it again, so make sure you check that out. Big thanks to Dave. Big thanks for you for watching, and we'll see you later.